swing from take on 45. Life is good.
Yes, life is good. Hickok 45 here, your internet shooting companion, coming to you from the beautiful hills of Tennessee. Yes, Tennessee, the home, former home, current home, James Yeager and Jeff Quinn. Okay, give those guys a salute today. All right, so here we are in Tennessee. We're back, and it's good to be here. Been on the road for a while. Last week I had to do early because we were on the road, and this week I'm kind of normal, if I'm ever normal, and it's good for you to be here. I'm glad that you're here, rather. I don't know if it's good for you to be here. It might even be unhealthy for you to be here, but I'm glad you're here. That's what I meant to say. And you know, it could be worse. You could be somewhere else, or you could be watching something maybe even dumber than this. I don't know. What do you think? Is there anything dumber than this? Let me know. If you find something dumber than this, let me let me know. I want to make sure I find John's comedy thing here before I go too far. Yeah, and yeah, there we go. Hey, why don't I just go ahead and start with that? John's been doing a lot of comedy, and he will be, let's see, gosh, and we're looking at dates that have already occurred, and September 23rd, he'll be in Chicago, 10:30 at the Comedy Clubhouse, okay, in Chicago. You've been up there a while, I think. The 24th of September at Zany's Old Town, okay, at 11 p.m. So y'all are up there, check him out. Then at the Comedy Bar on September 25th, okay. And then Chattanooga at the Comedy Catch on the weekends, October 7th and 8th. I think he's hosting there. So anyway, I'll keep you updated. He's at the Grove, Lowell, Arkansas, I guess, the 3rd and the 4th of November, and I'll catch up on those later. Okay, go by and see him. You'll think he's funny. I'm pretty sure you will. So, how y'all been doing? Did you see this? Thought I'd bring it out. It's just picked it up yesterday. The Springfield Armory Prodigy. Okay, Prodigy. Many of you have asked me about it and requested one from Buds, and just came in yesterday. And so you know, those were the first shots. Those were the first shots, at least I had fired, and unless it was test fired, maybe anybody fired in this firearm. Okay, it's a high, oops, no it's not, it's a normal capacity, kind of a, I don't know, what is it, kind of a, what do they call it, 2019, or 2011, yeah, when they're the double stack 1911s. And this one's a little different than some of the other 2011s versus 1911, right? Feels good, feels a very good grip, and I have a hard time getting used to a 9mm kinda in a 1911, and this is kind of a big 9. It's not too thick a handle. It's a little thicker than a normal 1911, but it's not too thick, and well, feels pretty good. It's got some high sights on it. Of course, we all know what that's about. So you can co-witness with your optic or suppressor, whatever you're doing there. Personally, I don't like high sights, but anyway, in fact, I took them off my, I don't think I've shown you that yet, have I? I replaced the sights, or have I, on the M&P 10mm, and I'm a lot happier with that firearm now, okay? I'm not going to suppress a 10mm much, you know, and I don't really like optics on a handgun. So I may change my mind in 10 years or 30 years, but right now I don't like optics on a handgun. And so, I don't want sights sticking way up. A lot of you don't, because I hear from you. But I hear from a lot of you that do. So, to each his own, to each her own, to each its own, wherever you fall in those categories. That feels okay. I didn't have any malfunctions yet. That's encouraging from the first mag. We'll shoot a little bit more. Oh gosh, shame about James Yeager. Most of you knew that he was, in bad health and everything, and I guess that happened. Maybe before I did the last one. I don't know. Like I said, I was early that week because I knew I was going out of town, and missed some things. Didn't talk about maybe that had just happened. The Queen died, and all these various things. But that's okay. We're not a news outlet. But with James Yeager, I was watching a tribute that Such put out, and although it was really, really good because he knew James Yeager really well, better than I did. And I had met him several times. And what a lot of people do say, I concur with. He had a kind of a different online persona than he was in real life, in my experience. I saw him at SHOT Show several times and NRA meetings and different things like that, Second Amendment rallies, and just a genuinely nice guy, not like a big personality that you see sometimes, online. And again, I just echo, what people say. Just a genuinely nice guy. You might have hated him or whatever, but he did say whatever's on his mind, and didn't care, who's offended, that sort of thing. But a good guy. Shame to lose him. And it's the way it goes, isn't it? You don't know what's coming down the road for you. He wasn't nearly as old as I am, and you just don't know what's out there for you. So it's all the more reason, do the best you can, whatever the heck you're doing. Treat people well, and try to make your mark. Do something, not in a famous sort of way. Just make your mark, doing something worthwhile. I mean, we're all ego-driven, obviously. But and self-centered to an extent. Altruism, I guess, is a real thing, but it is really great to do what you can, for other folks, and on the road, on the journey. And I lost my thought there. I was gonna say something brilliant, just absolutely brilliant. And I knew where I was going to go. Not you knew it wasn't going to be brilliant. But I've said maybe on here, in front of this camera, I don't know. But even with the success of the YouTube thing and everything, and I was fairly successful in my sports career a while back, and a good while back, a long time ago, and different things. But the where I feel like I have made my mark, whatever mark that is just simply in my career teaching, not in my publishing career, but in just teaching. The almost 30 years I did that, I felt like I made a little difference in some people's lives, and tried to do the right thing and help guide youngsters into critical thinking for themselves, how to analyze things. And this is a great thing about teaching literature, in English, is we spend so much time with literature and characters and stories and plot lines and thinking, and analyzing motivations and different things. And that's just good exercise, just good mental exercise. Of course, I'm always testing them, testing their gullibility level, as well, as you can imagine. And, I just felt like if I did anything good in this old world, it was probably right there. Just, and I enjoyed it. So, but anyway, I digress. So anyway, sad that we lost James. I was out of town. I would have, I guess, I don't know if that was by invitation only, the celebration that they had. It was at his place. I saw that was coming up, and I was definitely out of town, and Friendship that day, Indiana and everything. I would have gone, and if I was invited. I don't know if it was an invitation only. I don't think it was. I don't know. But anyway, when I saw that they were having that, I thought, oh man, I'd like to be there, because I've never been to his place and know about it. So anyway, so yeah, this is the Prodigy. Let me shoot the other magazine, because I know what you're thinking again. Bait and switch. What was that beautiful flintlock you had held up in the thumbnail, Hickok? This doesn't look like a flintlock. Well, guess what? I ain't too smart, but I thought, you know what? I'm going to shoot both today. Probably ought to shoot this first, so that whoever ends up with this, in buds, e-gunners and all that later on auctions, probably would rather not have black powder residue smeared into the grip. See, my hands are still clean. So let's shoot this thing. Get another impression from this other magazine. Yeah, these are the first shots. All right. I was assuming it probably has to hold a little bit higher because of those high sights. Let me try the gong again. Yeah. I'm going to hold on the bottom of it. Oh, well, I don't know. Maybe not. Let's try the turkey. Has a fair amount of weight, so it absorbs the recoil, that's for sure. So I think some of you will like that. Great optic or fiber optic sight, and everything jumps out at you. I don't know, you sort of have to like a 1911, I think, first of all. And it's a pretty hefty gun. I don't know what it weighs. Again, I just got it out of the box yesterday. I haven't really studied it yet, taken it apart or anything. Just want to get some shots out of it. It doesn't have the bushing, I see. And the bull barrel. It's got a weird slide lock because of the grip, and I don't know if you can tell, but it's kind of recessed in there, and so you can't just rub your hand up. When you rub your thumb up there, it doesn't move the slide lock, and so you got to kind of get it ready, be pushing on it as you're pulling that back, and it'll slide up into the notch. But anyway, interesting gun. A little bit biased. I'm just not crazy about, and if I were competing, I might be, about the 2011s, and the bigger 1911s. I'm a little bit like that with as I am with AR-15s. I can't develop a lot of love for an AR-10. If I'm going to have a 1911, a 1911 just needs to be what it is, what it started out as. I just like the size, thin, the grip and everything, single stack for a 1911. That's just what it ought to be. Again, if I want a thick double stack 1911, I'm probably going to just prefer a Glock 19, M&P, a SIG, M17, whatever. I just think I am, especially 9mm. But nice gun, and there's something for everybody out there, right? So, oh man. Oh yeah, speaking of the Queen passed away, if you didn't hear about that. And I don't know much about royalty. Imagine that. I don't follow. My bottom line with all that is, the royalty stuff is kind of an anachronism, right? They don't really rule in England, thankfully, anymore. I think they have influence. I'm not sure how that all works with the parliamentary system and them and everything, but it's been going on for 1,000 years and everything. It's kind of interesting, I guess. My head wanted to explode over Princess Diana. Okay, now I'm not talking about her death, but long before she died and all that. If I hear about her one more time, who cares that much? A lot of people do, though. A lot of people. And so it's one of those deals where, as if everybody's talking about something or is crazy about something. That alone almost turns you off, on whatever that is. So I was kind of that way, and plus I'd never been into the royal kingdom necessarily. In modern days, of course, and so, but I'm wasn't a hater. So I think bottom line is, so many people with your queen, the king, the princess, and all the royalty and the news and everything that goes on with them, and divorces and deaths and who's the heir to the throne and all that kind of thing. I think too many people are on one extreme or the other. Way too many people. And it's probably the majority of people are on those extremes almost. One extreme loves it too much, is too fascinated with all that. Then the other extreme, and the other side, is a gigantic segment of people who hate it too much, hate it more than it deserves. Okay, so you got people who love it more than it deserves. You got people that hate it more than it deserves. And so many people, maybe the majority of all of us, we feel like we've got to be on one side or the other, either hating it and getting sick of it, or just being overly fascinated and hypnotized by it all. You know what I'm saying? And I guess I'm kind of in the middle, except after I've heard about Princess Di or whatever for the millionth time. I'm not a hater again, but I just, okay, I don't care anymore about that. But be that as it may, the Queen, gosh, 70 years, that's amazing, living to 96. My mother-in-law's 96, and they even look a lot alike. But that's a long life. That's a long time to be a queen or a king or anything, isn't it? Wow. So, apparently she had accomplished a lot in her life. And I'm always a little, even if it's somebody I don't like necessarily, well, I won't say I don't like, but I'm not fascinated with necessarily or whatever it is. But if somebody is extremely accomplished at something, they've done a lot, maybe they're just very wealthy, but they're in that position and they've done something, whatever it was. But I always get a little tinge if I start not liking them because of their success or their wealth or whatever it is. I always have a little feeling in the back of my neck, no, wait a minute, this is beginning to feel a little bit like envy. Is that what it is? Am I just a little envious here? Not just let it be, okay, one way or the other. So, but I've never been fascinated by any of the royalty. But again, I'm not a hater, so I'm somewhere in the middle, and that doesn't satisfy most people, because most people want you and me and everybody to be either a hater or a lover or someone who's fascinated, right? Okay? It's the only way you get elected. It's the only way you divide people, right? It's the only way you seem cool and have strong opinions. Anyway, what else? Like I say, I've been out of town, and I've been bad again. Friendship, Indiana. And if you're a new person, and again, disclaimer, this is a Sunday video, lots of talking, some shooting. Okay, what are you doing here? Okay, don't get mad. I think I posted this picture of this on Instagram, the real Hickok 45, right? Yeah, the real Hickok 45. Posted a picture of that, and it's just an axe hawk I bought. I have a kind of a tradition every year. Typically, it will go once a year. It's in the fall and the spring, the Friendship National shoot, muzzle loading shoot. And I hate to miss both of them. I usually make one of them, preferably the fall, but it just depends on my schedule, what's going on. But I have a tradition of buying a throwing axe, and this year I thought, let's get one with a hammer, something a little different. I like Beaver Bill. He makes really good hand forged axes, throwing axes, and some other types as well. Good guy, and I get one from him every time, and I get more than I can throw, or more than I should have. than I should be able to own in the new socialist world coming, I will donate some of them to you all. How's that? But it's just a tradition. I picked one up, and he does a great job. And again, I've got a weakness for big knives, tomahawks, hatchets, axes, and that kind of thing. And I like throwing these things. I need to do a video. One Sunday, I'm going to just be talking to you while I'm throwing at you. I'm not necessarily great at it at all, but I like doing it. Okay. So, there's my cleaning rod. Yeah. Okay. So I've been bad. I've been up to Friendship, and got that. And you may have seen a posting of my Kentucky rifle, my American long rifle. Really, Kentucky rifle is kind of a misnomer. They were mostly made in Pennsylvania, like originally, and in Virginia and the Carolinas, and brought into Kentucky, and then later they were made in Kentucky too. But they're really more of a Pennsylvania rifle. They're in Lancaster County and those areas. And somebody wrote a song. I think it was in connection with the War of 1812. What was it? But it was called the Kentucky Rifle or something. And because they're associated with Kentucky and Daniel Boone and everything and Davy Crockett, they became known as the Kentucky Rifle. And it was the type of rifle that people in Kentucky had, and they were making them, but it really didn't originate there. But long rifle, okay, American long rifle, okay, whether it's a Pennsylvania long rifle, Lancaster long rifle, Kentucky long rifle, it's a long rifle. And that's what I picked up when I was up there. All right, it had been in the back of my mind that it's one great American rifle that I don't own. What's wrong with me? Yeah, all these stupid polymer pistols, and I don't have a long rifle, an American long rifle. What is wrong? What is really wrong with that picture? Something for sure. Just lacking severely in patriotism, okay? To be such a gun nut and not have a flintlock long rifle. And so now I do. But I had in the back of my mind that, maybe just pick up a Traditions, a Pedersoli or something, even though I have a really, I could say love-hate relationship with my Pedersoli Brown Bess. If you've seen any of those videos, you know it's more of a hate relationship than a love relationship, because I just can't shoot that dumb thing. And so I've been reluctant on another flintlock. But I don't know, I've read, and you all have pointed out in those videos how the touch hole was too low in that thing. It's down in the pan and some different things, and what makes it harder to shoot and all that. And it's a smooth bore, of course, and I don't know. I thought, and I remember years ago, I've told you about that. It's been like 30 years ago, someone brought a couple of Kentucky rifles over here, and I shot, and I was actually able to hit a pig. So I kind of believed, I don't like to blame things on the gun, but I kind of believed that Pedersoli was just an extraordinarily difficult firearm to shoot. It's a musket. And it's not necessarily me, but still, it just kind of jaded my opinion, my love, affection for a flintlock. Because I've had that for, wow, I don't know. I think maybe since before we started doing these videos even. And I just never have been able to hit anything with it. But I just decided it's got to be a lot of that gun and the lock and the action. And if you're going to take a chance. And maybe just get a Kentucky long rifle, smaller lock, faster lock maybe and everything. But whether it's a Traditions, whoever it is, and try it out. 45 caliber, just something different. Squirrel rifle or whatever. So I had in the back of my mind. And I was going to do a little research while I was up there. Can I shoot it while you're thinking, while I'm talking, while you're wondering what I'm going to say? Let me take a shot with it, and then I'll finish some of that. I did load it before the video started, and then I'll wash my hands. So I'm going to use some 4F powder and prime the pan, because I do have it loaded. Well, it's not really loaded until you prime the pan, right? Okay. All right. So 4F is a thinner, or it's a finer grain powder. All right, put some of that in the pan. All right. Well, we start with the cowboy. See if I can hit the cowboy. Now, I'll probably miss, but I've just shot it a few times. I shot it yesterday for the first time, for whatever, 5, 6, 8 times. And yeah, I was able to hit a couple things. So much better than the brown bess. So far I'm happy with it. I just got to figure out the sights and again, get used to the flinch on one of these things. There's a delay. It doesn't seem like much when you see it fired, but believe me, it's weird when you're pulling the trigger. If I brought the brown bess out here, I just know I probably couldn't hit the cowboy here. It would be, I wouldn't bet anything on that, on hitting it. But I'm going to try with this. See if I can keep from flinching. All right. Got him. Got him. Yeah, right. That's kind of where I was aiming. Might have been a little bit to the right. All right. So how am I going to leave the cap on this safety Nazis, black powder safety Nazis? I can't leave the cap covering that hole, can I? But I better go ahead and reload it while I'm talking so it doesn't set up on me the black powder. So far I am very pleased with it because it's a kind of rifle you want to like, right? You want to like it. I mean, wow, what a piece of history. And you know, it's like, I'm not necessarily becoming exclusively black powder. I know we posted that 1842 video, a buck and ball, this week. Just kind of coincidence, but in the fall I do get in more of a muzzle loading mood. As I've mentioned before, there's just something about the fall air and shooting a nice rifle like this. Oh, this bore is nice, nice and smooth. It's a Getz barrel, for those who know about these things. It's a Getz barrel. Well, that's what I was going to tell you. I was going to get what is a reproduction in these things? They've been making them for several hundred years. There's custom makers from early 1700s or before and right on up to today. There are people who specialize in making these, handmade rifles. They don't make the barrels, but they, make them or the lock. So custom guns. They're custom back then. They're still custom. But now to get one that's made in the 1700s, it's in really good shape. It'd be more expensive than your car probably. So anyway, I found there was a guy I ran across. I wasn't really going to buy one, but I got to looking at them a little bit, and the fellow who made this one is not a well-known, famous gunsmith in this area. There are a lot of people who are, and I just kind of liked it, and it was going to cost about the same price as a good reproduction would. And yet I could talk to him. He's the builder of it. He told me what kind of barrel he got for it. And the lock is a Siler lock, a Getz barrel, which I understand they don't make them anymore. That kind of thing. And so, I could talk to him. I like the finish. There's no brass. It's all metal. I like that finish. It's kind of neat. You always think of brass or anything of these, but a lot of the early guns like this, well, not early, but just some they use just brass. Brass is easier to work with in a lot of ways. But I kind of like the metal effect on this. And, it's a neat gun, And it's in 54 caliber. There's another thing. I had this impression, the Kentucky rifles, American long rifles, were squirrel guns or something. I don't know why. And unless you had a Hawken, you were going to be talking about a smaller caliber. That's not really the case. They come in all sorts of calibers. And 54 is cool because I've got 2 or 3 54 calibers already and got the balls and that size and everything. So anyway, I ended up with it, and I wouldn't have taken a big plunge probably if I'd run across some that were going to be more money, and I wasn't so sure let me study this a little bit more. But again, for the same price basically that I could have gotten a good reproduction, from one of the big houses, Traditions or Pedersoli or something, I got a custom gun, doesn't have a lot of brass, but that's fine. I like it. Nice wood, curly maple, which so many of them were in. and a Siler lock. Now, I know enough to be dangerous about a lot of things. I knew that a Siler lock or L&R, those are really good locks that builders use and that kind of thing. The Getz barrel, a good reputation and all that. So here I am with a long rifle, American long rifle, and who knew? Who knew? So I swabbed the barrel, didn't I? So now it's time to load it. So I thought I'd bring it out and show you. Well, I mainly wanted to shoot some more too, and be getting it figured out, how to overcome the flinch. Because even one like this with a better lock, faster lock, and the touch holes in the right place and all that, and I've learned a lot about loading them and priming the pan. You still have that delay. You might not notice it much when you're just watching somebody shoot one of these, but it's an eternity when you're the one pulling the trigger. Think about if you shot your handgun, your favorite rifle, whatever it is, 30-06, and there's actually a delay, but hang fire. There's a hang fire. Many of you might have experienced a hang fire, and no matter how short a time the hang is, it seems like an eternity, doesn't it? And you may be pulled way off target. Well, you get that with this every shot. Okay, so I always have had an immense amount of respect for anybody who can shoot one of these things, because it's not easy, not easy. But how do you get more American, than an American long rifle? So I was motivated to master it, or to get one that would work better and actually have a flintlock that I could shoot reasonably well. Historical piece, the history behind these things, and it was a gap, maybe the biggest gap in my firearms collection, really, you get right down to it. So, and I'm not going to become a long rifle collector. Maybe one more someday. Maybe one really nice one in brass. Maybe more of a custom gun from somebody. Well, one of the things about all that is I could have ordered one Saturday. I know Mike Miller and some others that build these things, but I might do that sometime, depending on how long I think I'm going to live. See how healthy I feel. But I think his wait time is like 4 years or something. So someone who is really good at what they do, it's like having a knife made, custom knife and some of those kind of things. Ordering a Shiloh Sharps rifle or something. You got a wait time. So, when you're as old as I am, you don't need to be buying something you don't take delivery on for 4, 5, 6, 8, 10 years. Although, I should be optimistic, shouldn't I? Because shooting keeps you young, keeps you healthy. Somebody said they thought one reason I've not gotten COVID all this time, especially where I just gone on with life as normal, is because I have cats and I breathe a lot of gunpowder. That might be it. You people that hate cats and don't shoot, you might be missing out on something. So I rammed that again, this is a rifle. So again, I probably don't have a lot of new people watching these videos on Sunday, but it is rifled. Okay, and so you can't just pop in a mini ball like on my Civil War rifle muskets and that kind of thing. This is just like your old Hawken rifle or anything. They're a rifle. That's why they're accurate. You get spin to the ball because of the rifling in there, and so you need a patch ball. That's what I did. I put a patch and a ball in there and rammed it down. It's tight. And so now I'm going to prime it and take a shot. You think I ought to try the gong? I hit the other gong, which is the same distance on the other range, yesterday. I also missed it. And it's funny that I need to get I think John has my spotting scope. I never use spotting scopes and that kind of thing, but I do have one. My wife bought me for Christmas one year. I think John has it. But I walked over to the gong over there where I could see the hit, and both of the times I hit it were over to the right, but that shot looks a little to the right, but again, that's probably me. I think a couple of hits I had were slightly to the left too, maybe. So I need to shoot this a lot before I work on the sights. Now it doesn't have well, the rear sight is adjustable, and, the maker, Jeff, oh gosh, I don't want to get his name wrong. Jeff, I got a picture of the car. Salute, I always want to, yeah, it's Saluter, yeah, E-R, yeah, Jeff Saluter, S-L-U-D-E-R, Saluter, yeah. Some of you probably know him if you go to Friendship, or you know. In fact, he lives in Florence, Kentucky, where I lived for a long time. I went to Boone County High School. I don't know where he went, but so yeah, he was telling me that the sight does have some adjustment for elevation back here. That I asked him if that was correct, period correct. It looked more modern, but he said in the 1830s or whenever that was, you know. And but as far as adjusting windage, I would need to tamp that front sight over one way or the other, and maybe file it down if I have to. But I don't think I'll have to do that. But I'll experiment with it. And I really do probably need to bench rest this one to make sure, as I'm figuring out where it hits, that I'm not part of it, because you know, the flinch factor is there. In fact, a lot of people call these flinch locks, you know. So I need to get that out of it before I get too serious about all that. But you know, shooting it over and over, you do begin to figure that stuff out. And make sure that pan is dry. I'd oiled it last night after shooting, had it soaking in ballistol, and which, by the way, I really appreciate. I really use a lot of this with this rifle. Talon grips, I appreciate them, of course, supports us, and with this thing, I'm involving, I guess, ballistol more than anybody. Okay, so half cock. And again, I'm putting 2F GoX, you know, in the bore, of course. I'm just shooting 70 grains, 75 grains. Okay, a lot of people shoot more than that, but I'm just starting out with that, trying it. And then I'm using 4F in this little charger. 4F's very fine powder, you know, in the pan. Okay, and for new people, a lot of this stuff, you know, this is the cock hammer. This is the frizzen, the thing that closes down, okay, till you get your spark. The rock, the flint, strikes the frizzen, and you know, and then you have powder in the pan here, and you know, it ignites and shoots flame across through the touch hole into the powder that's in here, like right now. And on the other one, the touch hole is a little too low. You're not supposed to bury the touch hole, as I have learned. You know, I know I tend to think, oh, if a little's good, a lot's better. Well, that's not the case with powder. You just get the right amount, just what you need, leveled across there, and then have the touch hole clear. So when it lights, the flint sparks light it, it flares and it shoots flames into the hole. You know, if it's stopped up or it's got powder in it, then you've got kind of a fuse effect. So it's slower to burn in. It'll get in there probably most of the time, but it's a little slower. And so if your touch hole's down there in the pan, that's what I was running into. Like every time I'd load it, it's hard not to with that Pedersoli brown best. Okay, so it's ready to go. I just need to put some powder in there. And all my study tells me you really don't, most people put too much powder in the pan. Okay, now cock it back. I'll try the gong. I'm gonna leave my ears off, see how loud it is. Okay. I think I can kind of line up those sights right in the middle of it. Question is, can I keep them there during the delay? All right. Oh, that's nice. Yeah. So, I'll make sure that screw is tight. The jaws on that flint. You clamp that down, and yeah, good and tight. All right. Now see, if I had the old brown bess out here, I'd say it'd be about a 90% chance, 95, I would miss the gong. Okay. So that's cool. And I just like to play with these things. I'm probably not even going to hunt. I could if I was a deer hunter. You know, most deer shot around here. I would probably, unless I got a lot better with it, I would just pretend I was bow hunting. You know, if I was a deer hunter with this, and I would have no problem with that. I could hit a deer at 30 yards or 50 yards. You know, with this, hit it where it needs to be hit. I would have confidence, you know, in that at least, even though I'm not all that proficient with one of these. But I wouldn't be taking any 100-yard shots or 200-yard shots or anything. 54 caliber, cool. So now I are a mountain man. You didn't know that, did you? My life is weird. I tell you that. For example, this week, I think we're going to do the first real video with the Select Fire Chinese Type 56 that I have. And I'm shooting this a lot too. So that's, how's that for schizophrenia? I go from this, a flintlock, to AK, full auto, Select Fire. That's what keeps it interesting. That's for sure. John hadn't shot this yet. He's been out of town, and I've been out of town. But let him shoot it tomorrow. Be out. But yeah, that is pretty wild, isn't it? And again, I enjoy this as much as an AK, probably more actually. You just can't beat these pieces of history. You really can't. So I'll go into a lot of stuff in the video when we do a regular video on it. How's that? Be sure you're staying in touch with your representatives. You got all this crazy stuff that's going on as always. The gun controllers are out there after us. You know, the pistol brace stuff coming up. Can you believe that? It's just bizarre that it looks like that's going to become an NFA item. You know, you're going to have to go through all that BS for that. Let me get this thing measured. No, I didn't put any powder in there, did I? No. Just bizarre. I have said many times in video how crazy, of all the gun laws that we have, those are some of the dumbest, really. The SBR and SBS regulations, you know what I'm talking about. That's, you know, in order to have a shorter shotgun barrel or rifle barrel, you know, than 18 or 16 inches, then you've got to go treat it like a machine gun or something. It's the craziest thing ever. Talk about obsolete. That is an anachronism in such a major way. It really is. And that's what makes that so crazy. So anyway, that, you know, and you've got coming after everything, the corporate world with Visa, MasterCard, you know, reclassifying firearms purchases, gun shop purchases and all that. Yet I don't know, between the government and some of the woke corporations, I don't know. I mean, they just, I don't know who's worse. Because so much of corporate America, I'm pro-business, in a way, capitalist. Yeah, I'm one of those. I'm pro-capitalism. They just jump on the bandwagon, and part of it is, as has been pointed out many times by folks a lot smarter than I am, is because all these people, you know, back 10, 20 years ago that we used to laugh at and at the universities that were so woke, you know, all the stuff was going on there. Remember 20 years ago, you'd hear about comedians that they got to where they didn't want to even perform at a college campus, you know, and just wouldn't do it, you know, that kind of thing. Well, guess what? All those people in those universities from back then, now they're managers and vice presidents, CEOs at so many companies. Human resources, they're in human resources and they're everywhere. You know, so this illness has infiltrated corporate America. You know, and a lot of that illness involves gun hate, right? You know, they would like to ban this assault rifle. Let's shoot it again. Okay, made my day, hit the gong. That's the first time I shot the gong today. Again, I've only shot the gun about 10 times. You put it on half cock and charge. Now you can charge. There's so many ways you can do it. You can charge your powder horn and different. You're not with the horn. You put it in a smaller container from the horn if you're out, trekking around, that kind of thing. I've never been a reenactor, as you know. Partly because being 6'8", I if I ever had a thought, being a Civil War reenactor or mountain man or any kind of reenactor like that, I can't even think it through with any practicality, because I would have so much trouble gearing up for something like that in my size, because the period clothing is part of it and all that sort of thing. I could, or really wanted to do it, but so it just kind of depends on how far you want to go with something, You see a lot of people up at the Friendship National Shoot, and all the period clothing and everything, camped with a period campsite. It's cool, and walking around with this stuff, and in the magazines, Muzzle Blast or whatever you're reading, folks out hunting, and they look like, it's 1780 or 1830, and they've got their flintlock and they're deer hunting and they're dressed that way and everything. And I think that's really cool. I'm glad people do that. Don't know that I'm into that. And that's where your powder horn and getting the accoutrements that all fit that you would carry into the woods. You might do that. Prowl around here, so the deer would at least think I'm period correct and that I'm a real mountain man. 'Cause a powder horn's a cool thing. You don't pour into it from a powder horn. For the same reason you don't pour out of this into the barrel, right? If it did go off, you've got a hand grenade in your hand. Whereas with the powder measure, in case some of you didn't know that, it's not just for measuring the powder. It's so you just got this small amount that you're pouring into the barrel if it did go off. That never has happened to me in 50 years, but you never know. All right, now here I go talking, and I am loaded, right? Let me double check. I know I am. There's no powder in the. Let's see, the frizzing's still up, so we're safe. Let me put the rod in here. I've got it marked. You want to mark your rod. Okay. Yep, it's loaded. Okay. I knew it was. Just wanted to verify it. Wouldn't have been a big deal. Just been a flash in the pan, right? Nothing would have happened. All kinds of old sayings come from firearms, don't they? Like flash in the pan. There's the pan. And if you don't have anything loaded, you forget to load it, yeah, it'll flash, but you can see where that comes from. It's just a flash in the pan. Lots of sparks and fire, but nothing happens, right? That's where that comes from. And don't go off half-cocked. Of course, that could be any firearm, but it probably started with this. Anyway, so let me put some 4F in the pan. Oh, yeah, I didn't even notice I didn't have my ears on, I don't want to set a poor example. Well, even though I am a poor example of a human, I don't want to set a poor example. But as I've said, truth is truth. Reality is reality. With a big bore firearm that is not traveling 3,000 feet per second or even 2,000 feet per second, it's traveling a moderate distance. And then, of course, also with black powder, you just don't get that piercing sound. You just don't. If I were hunting with this, I wouldn't even put ears in, because I don't even remember it going off. It didn't hurt at all. Okay. And I know it doesn't have to hurt to do damage, but just so you know, you fire an AR-15 without ears, and you might just be unconscious for a while, right? Okay, I'll just put my ears on. What do I need to shoot that's not been shot? I bet you Daniel Boone, Davy Crockett, Simon Kenton, folks like that, I bet they shot a lot of 2-liters in their day. Oh, and since it's a Kentucky rifle, guess which one we should shoot? The blue one. Uh-oh. Speaking of flash in the pan, now you watch me. I did put powder in there, right? Okay. Put the frizzing up on half cock. Do that again. Oh, I know one thing I've not done. Some people run a pick in their flash hole every time. And actually, I was doing that yesterday. Make sure the flash hole is clear. Let's try that again. Kentucky 2-liter. Uh-oh. Got me a little worried here. Some of you tell me I did put powder in there, didn't I? I better have. I better have. Get all my best picks here. Make sure that's perfectly clear. It'd be sad if I'm finished shooting for the day with this thing. I'm probably keeping y'all too long anyway. Well, I don't know. It sure feels empty in there. I can feel it going through there. Did I dry? Surely I didn't dry ball that thing. Let's put that down. I'm gonna run this rod down in there again. Yeah, it's showing the right spot to have not only the ball but to have powder. All right. Okay, good thing I'm not being attacked right now. I guess I'm getting I'm getting a good enough spark because the powder's going off there. All right. All right. I guess that's what I get for picking on Kentucky here. This Kentucky 2-liter. There we go. I think I could feel a longer delay there. Did y'all notice that? I don't know. I didn't run a wet patch, I don't think, down that time. You know, while I'm talking to you all, y'all looking over my shoulder, I could do something while I'm not thinking, or I'm trying to think about 2 or 3 different things. But yeah, it's what you get. It's a flintlock. It's not an AR-15. But yeah, I guess I just had some dirt and flash hole that last time I really went in deep, you know, with both the picks and everything. So, primitive technology, but at the time too, you know that was a thing. I read somewhere that Daniel Boone was constantly depressed about the primitive technology they had with firearms. Believe that? You got that joke, didn't you? It might have been primitive, but they didn't know it was primitive. They didn't know it. Just like right now, what we do is pretty primitive in terms of what it'll be in 100 years, right? So but they had to deal with that, and that's another phrase that, you know, keep your powder dry. Wow. Because you couldn't just walk around in the rain or in the dampness even and have that thing primed, you know, your pan primed for very long. You know, you couldn't trust it. You have to reprime. I believe that's what they would do. Or they just wouldn't. They're ready to prime, probably. My guess is a lot of times they would just, if they're out hunting, they had it loaded. And they would make sure that touch hole is clear, of course. If I'm over here hunting, if I'm stalking, especially walking around quietly and stopping, maybe I've got my priming powder ready to, if I see a deer, I need to be really quiet anyway. And maybe I prime it after that, I don't know. Or maybe I just prime it, and then if I don't see a deer for a while, I dump it out and prime it again. I don't know. I think I read where somebody who hunts now in normal, today, does that, changes out his priming powder like every 15 minutes or something if he's hunting. Maybe that was Duelist 1954. If you want to really learn a lot about muzzle loading and the history of different things, Duelist 1954 is his username on YouTube. He writes for some of the magazine writer. I met him out at SHOT Show one year. It's great to meet him. I've been reading Mike Bolivier, I believe how he says it. Great writer, and he's really into this stuff and does a great job. So I'll try another shot. Now I'll let you go maybe. Anything else you want to know? I haven't given you all a lot of advice, have I? You know, some general advice I have for you. I thought this week. maybe for youngsters too. This is everybody's advice, okay? Youngsters and oldsters and everybody. I think if we're not careful, let me clear that touch hole before I do anything too. We let media jerk us around back and forth, and we can always be in a state of upset, stress, depressed, or whatever. Let me think about it. Go turn on whether it's Fox News or CNN or whatever. Look at the websites you follow, news feeds. I mean, you can get riled up watching that, whichever side of the fence you're on, right? I mean, and just everything else is going on. Crime and the crazy stuff you see happening. I mean, you could really live in a state of panic almost, and or depression or whatever you want to. Just be careful, old people and young people. Yeah, I'm guilty of it too. I watch a lot of news as I'm working. I think I'm able to put it all in perspective really well, hopefully. But think about it this way. Everybody that's got a news program or has a YouTube channel like we do, or a website or a blog, no matter what their political orientation is or what they're doing, it's very important for them to have content, right? They're going to be on the air either every day on the air, if it's like news, for 24 hours a day maybe. That's a lot of content to try to keep people's attention. If you're doing videos, you got to have content, or you're not doing videos. So everything you're doing needs to be semi-important to somebody, and if it's not, you need to make it seem important, more important than it actually is probably, right? So you've got all these forces, all these experts, pretty people, in front of your face. They're doing videos, or they're doing the news, broadcasting the news, whatever they're doing, and whatever the outlet is, constantly pulling on you to keep you watching, right? And trying to influence you in so many ways. So, and most are really good at it. And so if you're not careful, I'm not careful, we're all not careful, we just are constantly pulled by experts, always working on our brains, with the best psychology and advertising and whatever else it might be, So you got to turn that stuff off. You got to turn that stuff off occasionally, right? And just keep that in mind, how we're all being so influenced, whether we think we are or not, and we got to just get away from it sometimes, right? And then also, just as I say, there may not be any news, right? There's nothing important happening. Guess what? CNN, Fox, everybody else, your local news, you think they're gonna cancel the newscast? Due to a slow news day, there'll be no news for the next 12 hours. That never happens, does it? No, they got to pick something that seems a little important, and they make it seem even more important. Okay. So, and it doesn't matter what kind of news it might be or what's going on. So you got to be careful of that too, whether it's in the gun community or anything, because something could be made to seem way more important than it actually is. And you could be pulling your hair out, your hair's on fire over something that may not be critical. I don't know. There may be something coming up next month that should have your hair on fire. What was that? Oh, the stick fell. But if everything is supposed to turn your hair to fire, I don't know. That's not good, right? All right, you saw me put powder in. Okay, I was beginning to wonder what was going on with that last one. Wow, because I hadn't had that problem yet. I think one of the biggest problems you have at some point with these, as your flint gets older and wears, is you don't get enough spark to light the powder. But if the powder is lighting, like mine was, and it not getting through the touch hole, that's a different matter. So it's cool. Again, another entirely different endeavor in the shooting worlds. I've mentioned that many times, how the shooting sports are so great if you enjoy firearms, because my gosh, It'd be a long list, wouldn't it, if we tried to list all the various areas of shooting? You know, 22 competition, you know, Olympic competition, sporting clay, and it's a trap shooting with shotguns, and long-range rifle competition, cowboy action shooting, action pistol. It's just so many things. Muzzle loading, you know, long-range silhouette. You know, there's just so many different types of shooting. And okay, now we're loaded. I'm talking again. I'm gonna take a shot. So it's just a rich, fertile field. Speaking of fertile field, the neighbor's mowing his field. So I'm going to hit that touch hole again. It's really important. You know, if you're a pioneer, think about how important all this is. It takes a while to load it, so you would definitely want to know you have a pretty sure shot that this thing's going to go off, because if it doesn't, your dinner might just go running off into the woods. You know, you may not eat for a couple of days because your gun didn't fire at that deer or that possum, whatever it is, you know, or if you were attacked, you know, you're killed for lack of shooting back, whatever it might be. So pretty important that you do this right, that your powder is dry. Okay, this might be the last shot. I've probably gone an hour and a half today. I apologize. Okay. But to think of something fitting here for the last shot. You know what? Hit the gong. I'll bet very few pioneers, I'll bet Daniel Boone never took out a bowling pin. What do you want to bet? I'll bet he didn't. I'm going to get up here and pop one. Yeah, right there. That's for you, Daniel Boone. Davy Crockett never had the opportunity to shoot a bowling pin or a 2-liter, and we did both. We did both. So anyway, there you go, flintlock. You know, it's the high tech of the 1600s, 1700s, 1800s. That was the technology, state of the art. Give you a better look at this. I didn't really show it to you. Again, there's not a lot of cool brass or anything, which is fine. Some do, and some are metal. Some people prefer the metal look. And no patch box or anything on this one. The other side is a little carving there. Kind of nice. Just amazing up at Friendship in Indiana, is where this is, southern Indiana. You have kind of like that little touch at the top of that back there. It's kind of nice. You have all the parts for this. You can buy at that event, the National Muzzleloading shoot there in exhibits. You could buy any part you see here, pretty much, or at least to make out some of this, and then brass and everything, trigger guards to fashion out. Just fascinating place and event, no doubt about it. I like the finish on that barrel. I wish I'd asked him what he did to give it that look, kind of an antique metal finish there. Not sure what he put on that to achieve that look, but yeah, curly maple, a Siler lock, Getz barrel, 54 caliber, rifle. Okay, again, it's a rifle, and I don't know what else to tell you about it. I bought a bag of flint while I was there. You could buy flint. It's hard to find that at Walmart, right? And so I'm ready to go. I am going to shoot it. Please don't think poorly of me, but I am going to hang around a while and shoot it some more. Because, again, I want to see if I can get a better feel. I might take a couple more shots at the gong and then walk over there and see exactly where it's hitting the gong, okay? That might tell me something. And make sure there wasn't something else you were dying to know about. Yeah, one thing I was going to mention too, this, as I've mentioned before on Sundays, these are some of my favorite rifles because of the history and everything. And I just love all sorts of firearms. And it's still it still is weird that more people aren't interested in this, these kinds of firearms. I don't know. It's odd. Sometimes it doesn't make sense. Like I can bring out a really neat Civil War rifle that actually was used in the Civil War, and those videos never do as well. We don't care. We don't chase views, but they're just great firearms, And but if we do a short, I noticed we did a Civil War short. Well, it was a short with a Civil War rifle, my original, and I just loaded it, finished loading it, and shot the gong. You might have seen that. I think it's Civil War rifle, musket versus gong, or something like that. And not only does it have about 30 million views, and we just did that, I don't know, a few months ago, like 30 million views. Not only that, but I see a lot of comments. You can see the comments on that short video. You can tell there's so many people that find that rifle, musket, fascinating. Even though it's like whatever it was, a 40 or 50 second video. They just find that fascinating, seeing it load, finishing loading it, putting the ball down and shooting it and hitting the gong. And yeah, you ought to be fascinated by that. I am. I mean, it's just cool, it's all antique, but it's just so cool, so different, but it doesn't seem to translate. So I think a lot of people that are scrolling around the internet, they see a video on a flintlock and it's boring, so and that's fine, because they're guns that I might think are boring, not many. So anyway, I'll let you go and quit yakking at you, and I hope you have a good week, and hopefully, we'll do a video with this too, and of course with the Prodigy and some others. I got 3 other long guns and got a really inexpensive shotgun in too. Got the new, the Ruger, what's that thing called, LC, shoots the little 5.7 cartridge. Got one of those in, and from Buds, and like another Ruger rifle, 308, what do they call it? It's really lightweight, supposed to be the size and weight kind of an AR-15, but yet shoots 308, so I forget the model number on that. I haven't shot it yet either. So lots of different firearms, but I'm up to the task because I enjoy shooting, whether it makes a lot of smoke or not. And again, these are a challenge. Really, unless you have fired a flintlock, or you've had, you got a hold of some bad ammo somewhere along the way. That happened to me with an AR. It happened to me with some 303 British one time, that almost every round was wanting to hang fire a little bit. But most of you probably have never experienced a hang fire. A long hang fire doesn't give that to you, but if you get like a half a second hang fire, a quarter second, or you have fired a flintlock, you know the challenge I'm talking about, because when you just watch somebody shoot, you can't appreciate it. You've got to be behind the trigger and looking down at those sights, because you think about it, when you fire a gun, you get those sights aligned perfectly, and they're still moving a little bit, and you're coordinating the pull of the trigger at just the right instant. And once it fires, you pull it and the hammer falls, whatever you're shooting, you think, okay, I've done my job. Well, not with this. Follow through is good with about anything, sport, right? We've got a video called Follow Through. But with this, you better keep it on target, and it's hard to do that. Yeah, it really is. Okay, so anyway, the American long rifle, otherwise known as the Kentucky rifle. And it does look pretty dumb, doesn't it? I guess that's why it's called a Kentucky rifle. I had to say that. I'm from Kentucky. I was up there traipsing around my old haunts in Boone County, Kentucky. Speaking of Daniel Boone. And I went to Boone County High School, by the way. So why is it that I'm this long in my life, just now, late in my life, just now, being a proud owner of a Kentucky long rifle, or a long rifle, a rifle like Daniel Boone would have carried. So, I get around to everything eventually. Life is good.